Hello everyone, welcome to another day of learning. So for today we will be talking about our second lesson, which is the self, society and culture. So here we have the very first question, what is the self? So in this lesson we have four meanings of the self. First, the self is always unique and has its own unique identity. It simply means that every one of us exhibits our own identity different from others. That's why we have what we call our own individuality. Okay, number two, the self is contained and independent. It simply means that we can manage ourselves and we are capable of controlling our own beings. Okay, number three, the self is unitary, and that is the center of all the experiences and thoughts that run through a certain person. Okay, here unitary means autonomous or being autonomous. It simply means that ourselves are separate from others. And here, experiences mean or include consciousness of one's physicality as well as the other character and emotional life. Okay, fourth meaning, the self is private. It means that we are the only one who is certainly aware of our true feelings and self-worth. Okay, so we have what we call the social constructionist perspective of the self. So what does it mean? It means that the self should not be seen as a constant being or someone who is not changing. Rather, the self is someone or something that is in constant struggle with external reality. It is ever changing and easily influenced by external factors. For example, the things that we patronize can easily influence us or our life choices, such as K-dramas, K-pop, social media, and the likes. How does the culture influence the self? So according to Moss, every self has two faces. First is what we call the moi, and the second is what we call the person. Okay, first, the moi refers to a person of who he is, his body and his basic identity, his biological givenness. This is a person's basic identity. So, to further this, moi basically means the biological factors that we inherit from our parents. These are the things that we cannot change unless we apply medical or scientific interventions. Okay, the other one, which is the person, is composed of the social concepts of what it means to be who he is. So basically, the person is the face, which is composed of the social concepts, his principles in life, the way he carries himself, his demeanor, everything that he learns in society. The person is also the face which is nurtured by the society. For example, you are a natural born Filipino, however, you grew up in Korea. If that's the case, you will learn to adapt their language and their culture as a whole. The society greatly influenced the person or the kind of person that we are today. Okay, so to further analyze this, let us ponder on these questions. Okay, first, how do children grow up and become social beings? Second, how can a boy turn out to be just like an ape? And third question, how do twins coming out from the same mother turn out to be terribly different when given up for adoption? So these basic questions also tell us that every one of us perceive things differently, every one of us have different experiences, and in the end, these experiences shape us the way we are today. And according to Mead and Vygotsky, human persons develop with the use of language acquisition and interaction with others. This tells us that the way we think is greatly influenced by our usage of language. They also said that cognitive and emotional development of a child is always a mimicry of how it is done in the social world, in the external reality where he is. This tells us that the very first sign of intelligence and emotional development is mimicry, or when a child starts to do the things that the people around him is doing. The kind of family that we are born in and the resources available to us, such as human, spiritual, economic, will certainly affect us and the kind of development that we will have as we go through life. For example, a person grew up in a religious family. This will certainly affect him as he grew older in life, his decisions, his principles in life, as he go through different experiences or whatever problems he may face. Another thing, without a family, biologically or sociologically, a person may not even survive or become a human person. Those persons who do not have their own biological families tend to look for other persons who will accept and treat him as his own family. Gender is basically fluid, it changes over time. For example, those people who consider themselves a straight male today may at some point in their life change their sexual preference. It is also very sad that people have to fight hard to express, validate, and assert their gender expressions, because society forces a particular identity to us depending on our sex and or gender. For example, husbands are expected to provide for their family. The eldest man in the family is expected to head the family and hold it. Mother's role of taking care of children. Young women are encouraged to act like fine ladies. They are trained to behave in a fashion that befits their status as women in society. Men are taught to behave like men, like holding in one's emotion, being tough, fatalistic, not to worry about gender, and admiration for hard physical labor. So what happens when someone breaks this stereotype? For example, men are venturing now to works which are dominated by women. For example, the makeup industry, the fashion industry. As a result, people around them are having a hard time processing this, and they tend to label that as something that is abnormal. So this concludes our lesson 2. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learned something from this material.